A few weeks ago, Kyle Kulinski had a viral tweet where he highlighted clips from the Joe Rogan podcast where Joe was saying many progressive, leftist, and liberal things. He tweeted, Rogan went from saying stuff like this to endorsing a corrupt billionaire authoritarian conman warmonger who stands against virtually every policy he claimed to believe in. And he does this as sort of a way to impugn the honor and integrity of Joe Rogan. But Joe Rogan was actually always more of a middle-of-the-road guy. And if you watch his show at any point ever, yeah, he's fairly middle-of-the-road guy, and he leaned towards Bernie and Tulsi and was kind of progressive. He was a big fan of universal basic income. Instead of asking why it is that Dave Rubin, a long time ago, Tim Pool, several years ago, Joe Rogan, Anna Kasparian, Colin Wright, Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr. Man, the list goes on. Instead of any one of these people asking themselves why it is that the left has lost so many people, they play stupid games where they just seek to insult and belittle. Kyle Kulinski is a great example of this. He is currently getting roasted for being an obedient, authoritarian lapdog. And that's what we see. Now, for me, look, I don't know. I talk about what I think is true. I get a lot wrong because knowledge is limited and we do our best. I try to understand situations. I try to give you the facts. And I'll give you my opinions, of course. This is an opinion show. What do we see in the corporate press and what do we see from the left? Consistently and always, it is some kind of manipulation or lie about what's really going on. Instead of telling you the truth and then giving you logic behind it, they say outright, misrepresentation, lie, or otherwise. In fact, I'll give a shout out to Sam Cedar. This guy from the Majority Report comes on the show, the Culture War podcast, Friday mornings, and literally goes on an unhinged rant claiming that I hold the position I don't hold, and I know exactly what he's doing. He is making a fake clip for the purpose of getting attention. After he's done with his angry rant, he goes, that's the clip I was trying to get. It's fake. Now, at least this guy, he knows what he's doing. For people like Kyle Kulinski, it's all just, lack of ability to think critically. Here's where Joe Rogan is. Joe Rogan is a guy who wants to know what's true. And so he's sitting there, doesn't read the news as heavily as many people, but probably more than the average person. He's looking things up on his show to see if it's true or not. And I'll give you an example of where I think Joe goes wrong. See, me, I'm more of sometimes I think I'm pretty dang sure of things. People get mad at me when I argue and say, no, this I'm right about. Not everybody does. And sometimes I say, well, I'll take your word for it. Just the other night, we're talking with Dudley Brown. And I said that quote from Donald Trump where he said, take the guns first and then go through the courts second. That was out of context. He says, no, I had people in the room. I know that quote. He said, I said, well, I'll take your word for it. Why? Because maybe I'm wrong. So I looked it up. I was wrong. And see, that's the game I'm willing to play. I had read an article. There was a video from NBC that showed only a short clip. And I said, wait a minute, he's referencing something else. Then I saw the full clip, went back and checked it. He told me I was wrong. I said, okay, I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm pretty dang sure I'm right and I'll argue it. Sometimes I won't. I go on Joe Rogan's show. I made the point on his show that more than half the country had permitless carry. It was constitutional carry. He says that can't be true. That's wrong. Jamie, pull it up. What ends up happening is Jamie pulls up a search and it said something like 13 states of constitutional carry. And I was like, oh, really? I was like, I guess I was wrong. Maybe it meant land mass or something. I don't know. I must be wrong. See, that's actually where I must take fault, not for being wrong. I was actually correct. The issue was I wasn't confident enough in my position because I'm not someone who, if I don't recall and know the exact detail and the fact, I'd be willing to accept a fact check. Here's the issue I see with Joe and these viral clips is that he does a quick Google search and checks and goes, you're wrong about that. It turns out, and this is several years ago, I was right. So there were 25 states, I believe, that were constitutional carry with one. At Florida, it's open, I think, permitless concealed carry, but not open carry, which is, not complete constitutional carry. Joe does try to know the truth. He does fact check more than most people. But a cursory search led him to the wrong conclusion, and I should have been a bit more confident in my assertion, but I wasn't. This is why you see these viral clips where Joe says things or whatever. Now, what ends up happening later on is the media is spiraling out of control. Kyle Kulinski himself is spiraling out of control. His tweets are becoming unhinged, and I'll give you an example. Let me see if I can, where do we have this? Do I not have that poster? Oh, here we go. Kyle Kulinski posts this. It's emotional. It's a picture of Trump that's been photoshopped to make him look just miserably awful. Let me tell you the difference between Kyle Kulinski and me. Here's my picture of Joe Biden. I said, never forget what they took from us. And it's an AI-generated, ultra-ripped Joe Biden. It's the inversion. Yes, I made a fake picture of Joe Biden. The humor is I made him look as good as I could. This is me laughing along, not angrily insulting Joe Biden. The humor here is that Joe Biden's an old man. I'm not trying to mock him, sort of. I'm making a funny play on him being ultra ripped. This is what Kyle Kulinski does. But let me tell you where the left currently is. Kyle has this post and he says, average Joe Rogan enjoyer. It's kind of wild that he went from being this rational guy to this unhinged, overly emotional, mental breakdown kind of guy. Scientists, and it says, yes, there's a guy, it says a man who saw a YouTube video, yes, you are all wrong. Average Joe Rogan enjoyer. It's kind of wild, Kyle. Hasn't Kyle gone on Rogan's show? Isn't he friends with Joe? I'm pretty sure Joe's referred to them as friends in shows past. Maybe I'm wrong. But why is Kyle so angry and so unhinged? The responses are great. Ian Miles Chong highlighting, and I called him out for this too, a post from Kyle Kulinski where he says, this is the land by Colorado, Kansas border from a plane. Pretty cool. I have no idea how or why it looks like this. And everyone's like, my dude, those are farms. He didn't know that. That's crazy. It's kind of crazy. And then James Lindsay responds, meanwhile, the scientists, have you ever thought to yourself, how do I know that 2 + 2 = 4? Why isn't it 2 + 2 = 5? PhD student talks about numbers. 2 + 2 = 5. Really? Yes, I watched a YouTube video and I said, you're wrong to the psychotic scientists claiming that 2 + 2 = 5. And then I'll give a shout out to Michael Malice, who breaks it down for us. He responded by saying low quality people would love a social credit score because obedience is one of the few metrics they can compete on. That's not a joke. That's the truth. Kyle Kulinski is screaming, love me, government. Love me, deep state. Love me, narrative machine. Now, I tell you this. I think Trump will give us a marginally good presidency. I'm not expecting these massive hyper reforms with Matt Gaetz. We were getting pretty excited that something would happen. But yeah, it seemed like that was just a play of some sort. So we'll see. Pam Bondi, maybe. Trump seems to be doing a bit better this time around. RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard was a good play. We'll see if he actually maintains this. I'm not going to scream in the face of Joe Rogan. I'm cheering him on. I think he's right. I'm not even screaming in the face of Cenk Uygur, who's progressive. I'm saying, hey, man, here's where he's wrong. I'll criticize him for his emotional breakdown, same as I would Kyle. But you see the point I'm making with the inversion. This image of Donald Trump is him sitting there angrily with crying face, wearing the mask, being like, haha, I'm making fun of Trump. But he's really going like, Trump, I don't like Trump. And the inversion is me being like, never forget what they took from us, riding with Biden. And this was after Joe Biden had dropped out. I had posted this image of an ultra ripped Joe Biden as a joke. I'm not angry at Joe. I'm critical of him. I'm, angry in certain policies. But I mean, like, it's not an overly emotional thing based on the character of Joe Biden. It's bad policy. Michael Malice then points this out. He says the enemy class is not composed of impressive people. And he contrasts Kyle Kulinski's one guy telling everyone else they're wrong with the famous photo, the guy that refused to salute Hitler. Famous photo where everyone's doing the Roman salute and there's one guy with his arms crossed angry because he could see that something was wrong with the zealotry and the mindless marching and obedience. Kyle Kulinski today says that man is wrong. He should be marching in lockstep with the machine. 2 + 2 = 5, I guess, in the world of Kyle Kulinski. Men can get pregnant, but there are those of us who say there are 4 lights. And that's what we've been dealing with. For Kyle, there's 5. For those that don't get the reference, this was a meme that should never go away. It should always be brought up. But a few years ago, This was a meme because the media kept screaming in our face. And for those that don't know, the four lights, an idea from Star Trek: The Next Generation that is worthy of memehood for all time. Chain of Command, an amazing episode. So let me give you the gist of it. Captain Picard, he's a captain of a ship. He is captured by the Cardassians, not those Kardashians, the Cardassian Empire. And he is brought into a room and he is tortured with a shock device. And there are four lights. And he says, how many lights are there? And Picard says, 4. And he gets shocked. And he goes, you're mistaken. There are 5. Now, how many lights are there? And he looks again. He says, 4. He shocks him again. He was demanding obedience from the captain. You will keep feeling pain until you say that reality is what I say it is. That's why I love this show so much. And he refused to say there are 5 lights. In fact, in the end, he screams, there are 4 lights. This meme was powerful because at the time, a few years ago, the woke were trying to claim things that we knew to be false. The pregnant man emoji, things like that. 2 + 2 = 5. They were demanding, by penalty of being ostracized, excised from society, fired from your job, you will say what is not true. We said no. Well, Kyle Kulinski represents those who dropped to their knees, tears streaming from their face, saying, I will do whatever you want. Now, what happens to those people when good wins? I mean, I can tell you. In these famed images, such as the man who refused to salute, it's possible that that man was punished, destroyed, and I don't know what happened to him. I don't know. Maybe history knows. But there were a lot of people that marched in lockstep with the Nazis, and we had something called the Nuremberg trials. Now, I'm not trying to equate Kyle with a Nazi. I'm stating that ideologically in a system, when you back evil for ease and you align yourself ideologically with what is wrong, something bad happens afterwards. You become the odd person out. Your credibility is destroyed and people aren't going to want to listen to you. That's why David Pakman was saying leftists and liberals were losing tons of subscribers and followers. He says they've begun to recover and they got him back shortly after. But there's a lot of people who left because they said, you've been lying to me. For Kyle, all he can do is double down and be angry that he's now on the wrong side of history. So right now, the Democrats are going through this break. Half are saying we shouldn't embrace these policies. The other half saying, no, don't give up, never back down. For Joe Rogan, he started reading the news. He started following what he thought to be true. And then he came out and said, Trump's the guy. And he endorsed Donald Trump. He talked with Elon Musk. Elon Musk explained things to him. He treated him as a friend and someone they've been friends for a while. And Joe said, yeah, makes sense to me. Kyle insults Joe. Which one do you think is going to work? Good luck, Kyle. Best of luck. I'll leave it there. Smash the like button. Share the show. Share this video with everybody you know and post it everywhere. It really does help. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Become a member at timcast.com, and we'll see you all in the next segment.